Hi, Mark. I'm Chinwe. I'm one of the co-founders of PocketSuite. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
And I'm Sean. I'm the community manager, and I'm very impressed because you're very punctual. You're here. You understand the technology. Usually, Chinwe and I spend about 5 to 10 minutes trying to coax people into the lounge, but very proficient. So that's nice.
I'm sure you spend all day on Zoom calls or whatever you're
These days I do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. You run a really exciting and impressive organization with lots of therapists and professional counselors. And you're working with some folks who are really working through some really heavy stuff. So I'd like to just start off by just figuring out, how did you get here? How did you get to where you are right now?
That's a great question. You got to start with some good schooling, and then you got to get a license. And then really, I think it was a combination of good mentoring and fortunate circumstances. I felt like God put me in a great place where, as I was getting my training as a counselor, I had good other counselors around me who were looking out for my best interest and who were trying to help me promote my goals and that process. And then I hired a business coach as well. And that was the best decision that I made career-wise, because in starting out this private practice, I really didn't know much about business. I was trained in counseling, not in business. And so they had been there, done that before, and knew the proper business procedures and advertising processes and things to get me set up. So it really kind of, in humbly and committedly following their advice, it's enabled me to build a nice practice.
Very, very nice practice. Mark, just 2 follow-ups on that. You are one of many folks who have now talked about the role a business coach plays in really helping folks get started, a mindset and all. What revelation did you have that led you to, I do need outside help and I'm willing to pay for it, just starting out? Because that's the tough part for people. I think everyone would raise their hand if it was free, but investing in that right up front before you started to see some of the fruits of the labor is sometimes hard for people to get their head around.
Sure, absolutely. So these business coaches were really good in that they practiced what they preached. And so my initial contact, another counselor tossed me a flyer that said, come to this 6-hour webinar, it wasn't a webinar, it was an in-person seminar for free. It's like $90. And I was like, man, at the time I had just finished school. I was trying to get a business started. $90 was a lot of money.
That's real money.
And I was debating, and somebody said, well, if it gets you 1 client, then it's paid for itself.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought, oh yeah, that's really good. And so I went to the seminar and I learned a lot. And part of what I learned was that part of what they did in the seminar was show their work. And so they talked about, they had all of their people who had them as coaches go stand up, and they said, are you, who's full? Half the room stood up. They have full clients. Who is making this much money a year?
Love that.
They all stood up, and half the room stood up, and I was like, wow. And all the people in the room who were getting the coaching, they said, yeah, I just followed what these people told me to do, and it worked. And so what they were able to do.
You're sure they weren't paid actors? No, I'm kidding.
Pretty sure.
I'm kidding.
I think it would have been more obvious. There was enough downtime to interact and talk with them and hear about their practices.
No, I'm kidding.
So what they taught me was that if you can get somebody to be interested and buy in just enough interest, then you have their attention long enough to be able to show them the benefit of the product that you offer. And then if you can show them some of the other people that have benefited from them, that's what got me willing to invest, because they told me, we know where you want to go and we can get you there. And here's the evidence of that.
Wow.
And that's the foundation of marketing.
Wow.
And so since it worked on me, I was willing to hire them to teach me how to do that for my clients.
Very impressive. And that's a great
I find that that's not just marketing, but that's relationship. Anytime I'm connecting with somebody, if I'm listening first and then helping them see that I know what they're trying to say and communicate. I talk about this in marriage counseling all the time. If I can get to your yes and tell you better than you can say it yourself what you're after, then you're going to be willing and interested in trusting what I have to say, because I've communicated that I get and I understand you, and then I can show you how what I have to say helps you with whatever you're trying to get after.
That's the best explanation I've heard for why someone should hire a business coach, and apparently the best pitch that someone can deliver that just shows the value of business coaching.
I'll give them a plug. They're therapistconsultants.com.
What's it called?
Therapistconsultants.com, and they specialize in helping private practice therapists get a thriving business.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you. So Mark, I want to take it further back though. So I'm originally from Nigeria, so it piqued my interest that you were raised in Africa. I'd love to learn more about kind of that beginning and what led your parents there, and what was that like?
Sure. I grew up in Ethiopia, and my parents were there working with the church. My dad helped start a Bible school to help train Ethiopian pastors on better how to study the Bible and lead their churches. My parents went there while Ethiopia was a communist country, and then when the communist government fell and the democracy was established, then they were able to kind of create a full. My dad helped create a full-fledged Bible college there called the Evangelical Theological College. So that's what brought them there. I grew up there, and people asked me, what was it like? Well, it was normal, as normal can be. I didn't ride any lions to school, although one of my friends is like, yeah, people ask you, did you do this? You should say, yeah, I totally did that, because that's what they want to hear.
Right, exactly.
But that gave me an international background and flavor. I think it also helped me learn to appreciate the differences in people, and to learn how to connect with people with wherever they are at.
Yeah, no, it's I often talk to friends about what the world would be like if everyone had the opportunity to be a minority just at some point in their life, and just kind of feel sort of the need to sort of really create that understanding to navigate anything in that community. It creates a high level of empathy, and I think leads to a lot more collaboration and understanding. So
crucial in our world today.
For sure.
Can we take that idea one step further? That is to live in a society that is, I'm not going to say behind North America, but is more competitive, or there's less opportunity, or there's less stability, that would give you some added appreciation for, the ease with which you can succeed and excel if you put your mind and some work behind it within this society, I think.
Yeah, I think that I took a lot of different values from each country that I was part of. And those values, the values from the United States and the values from Africa, have kind of combined to help me be able to see multiple worlds and be able to appreciate and adapt in each world that I'm in.
Okay. Well, what are some of those skills? I mean, that's the obvious question.
I think just the skill to be able to, it is a skill and maybe a value or character trait to be able to come to the table from somebody recognizing that differences are differences rather than different is wrong, and that everybody does something for a reason. And if you understand the context for which something takes place, then you're going, that action or behavior is going to make sense. And so that really enables me to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I found that that really works well for me in whatever I'm doing. If I can approach somebody as an optimist and believe that they're working at their best and doing their best, then we simply have to align our differences. I think it has also given me the ability to see things from a different perspective. So that helps with my problem solving ability, and it helps me anytime I'm trying to negotiate or navigate a conflict, because I can put myself in other people's shoes and I can empathize with their position because I've seen a lot of different perspectives.
Do you impart that to your clients ever, that like, hey, have you ever thought of a new way of thinking or put this in a different perspective? And perhaps those are some skills that you saw abroad, different ways of approaching problems.
Absolutely. Part of the reason I'm smiling is because I thought you were going to say, have you ever told your clients that they should just move overseas?
That's a good point.
I don't know that I have done that, but yes, all the time I am helping them try to empathize with somebody else that they're in conflict with, and helping teach them some of the same reflective listening techniques that I've learned, and helping them try to appreciate and give other people the benefit of the doubt. Absolutely.
You know, Mark, when you said the importance of context, rather than sort of being right, the right and wrong, I just thought about my first 3 years of marriage, right? Where it was like, you know, you're sort of in this, what do they call it? The conflict period, right? Where you're just storming. Absolutely. And it's really about, you know, it's this test of wills as to like whose way is the right way, whose value set is the right way, instead of, is this an opportunity for greater understanding about where we're both coming from, right? It's a tough, that's a tough period, that first 3 years.
Absolutely.
Oh man. And so those skill sets are awesome.
So it took Yang 3 years to concede, is what you're saying.
Right. No, kidding.
He's a strong man.
Mark, what's going on for you right now, sort of in the midst of COVID? How has your practice been impacted? How have your clients, like what sort of energy or types of issues are you helping people work through right now?
Sure. Everybody's adjusting to change, and change always brings a level of stress, even when it's good change. And so people are trying to adjust. People are trying to shift. My particular clients, some of them, they came in early on talking about the huge benefits of being more connected with their family and being home more and being less busy. But then there's also this strain of disconnection because all of our meetings are now virtual. And I read an article that Zoom meeting takes 50% more energy to stay engaged, and so I think there's a different kind of tiredness or burnout or exhaustion that I'm helping people cope with and address. And I haven't experienced my clients having an extreme amount of anxiety about the unknown and the shift, but I think it's something that it's more of an underlying daily stress of people constantly adjusting to the unknown, and then kind of how that manifests itself. I'm usually dealing with helping people with challenges that they're facing anyway, and so some of those challenges have escalated because of the underlying stress, and some of them have dropped because of the change in life rhythm.
What I'm struggling with, certainly as we work and support business owners, and I'd love to hear how this plays out in therapy, is this really is an uncertain period that you absolutely don't know when it's going to be over, right? Like usually you can see yourself to the other side and so you can help someone get there, right? It's like, you know, I know the path, but when you don't know the path, when you don't know the timing, what kind of advice, you know, it's almost like treading water, right? Like you don't actually know, right? Sort of the kind of guidance that actually helps someone survive this, if you will.
Absolutely. So a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, I talk to them about where do they go when they're completely out of control? That in order for us to manage stress in life, we're all going to come to a place where our kid gets cancer, or, you know, we lose our job, or something else significant happens. And in those moments, we are now completely out of control. Everybody has to have a safety net. And for many people, that's an existential or spiritual thing. You know, I talk about my relationship with Jesus and how when I am completely out of control, I know he's in control and he has me, and he's going to work all things together for the good of those who love him. And so that's my safety net. And it allows me, you know, the Bible talks about the peace that surpasses understanding, which is this second level peace that, you know, whether you're a Christian or, you know, an atheist or follow, you know, some other religion, there's that second level of peace that everybody needs to be able to find and access that comes outside of their control, because our control's limited. But then if we have something that's not bound by control, we can rest on that and restore kind of our sense of well-being, even though we don't know when this is going to end or how it's going to ultimately affect us.
It's funny, I've once heard faith defined as, you know, a belief in something that is not yet seen, right? So that's sort of the concept of that peace beyond understanding, right? You've got to believe it before you've ever experienced or seen it.
Yeah. Do you promote religion within your practice? So if people have questions or if they feel out of control, I mean, do you promote the following of the Christian religion to them if they don't already?
So we're a Christian counseling practice, and so we offer Christian counseling to those who want it. I've worked with Muslims and atheists and Buddhists and folks from all different kinds of religious backgrounds, and I would never impose my religious belief on anybody. But there's some people that come to us that, you know, I can counsel someone without making them believe what I believe. And I can help them work through based on their own belief system. Like I just said, you know, you need that comfort zone. You need that safety net. What's that for you in your religion or in your faith background? But then I have a particularly special skill when I'm working with Christians who want to incorporate their Christian faith into their counseling, because I know the language, I know the jargon, I know the scriptures, and so there may be things that they believe but they've forgotten or that they haven't run across yet, and so I can kind of connect dots to them in a powerful way.
As you think about your business and your practice, what do you know? What's the aspiration long term?
Great question. My business coach says that I need a much bigger plan and goal. Most of my life, I have found that I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I enjoyed what I was doing, and I have followed the next right steps. And I think that God knows that about me, and he kind of drops things in my lap. And so I don't know that I recommend that as a strategy for anybody, but it's worked fairly well for me. In the short term,
you always respond to the call.
I find that God always, God has a unique spot and work for everyone that is uniquely fitted for what they are gifted at and their abilities and their interests. And so when I think about vocation, I think about progressively growing into what you were created to do.
Oh,
And so in that aspect, it's always easy to respond to the call because it's what I was created to do, and it's what I love more than what I was doing before.
oh.
And it fits my stage of life.
So it's just the
And
next
so
step.
I think that, I want to continue being able to provide for my family, continue to be able to help serve people, help them grow in the ways that I've experienced growth in life. And right now that's continuing to do my practice. I like mentoring people, and so I will probably continue to bring in people underneath me. And if the practice grows, great. If it, maintains, I'm okay with that. And, we'll see what other projects or things kind of land in my lap that I pursue.
Can you?
That was interesting. I sorry to cut you off, Chinwe. Chinwe and I talk about mentorship and often implementing that into our community and sort of connecting people with mentors. And you said you got very lucky in that you received wonderful mentorship and you're paying it forward, which is also sort of intertwines with your faith and the idea of service. And do you find that that's a key to anyone's development and fulfillment and legacy? Really, is part of the final sort of pinnacle of success is to become a mentor, is to find people who need your skills, tutelage, guidance.
I think that it starts with wanting mentorship. I got, I don't remember, I don't know if it was my dad or, other influences growing up, but I remember always being encouraged to find somebody to mentor me and to grow. And then I think my desire to mentor was just that, the fruit that came from seeing the benefits of that. And then, also having, I think there's a bit of a teacher in me, having that joy of giving and sharing back. And I don't know that I'm an internal processor as well. And so I'd probably have to think through whether I thought that was really the ultimate place to be. But I certainly think that as long as you're not just blowing steam, if you really are creating value in other people's lives, I do think that is something very significant and worth striving for. And I absolutely see it as being crucial to any kind of significant legacy.
So Mark, one thing that I've struggled with just as an entrepreneur and as somebody who also does a lot of mentorship, or just reflecting on the value of that mentorship, the big question for me has always been, mentorship is one thing and then sponsorship is another. And I think the world has so many mentors in terms of people who are willing to give you advice about things to do and ways to be, but not as many sponsors who are willing to say, what, I'm going to take a chance and give you that job opportunity, or promote you or invest in you and what have you. I do feel like that there's a divide or a chasm around that sponsorship versus mentorship. Just wondering if you've encountered that at all as you sort of been on your own journey.
I think sponsorship is more culturally prevalent in Africa. That's a word that I grew up hearing quite a bit, and I don't hear it very often in American circles. And so my wife and I do sponsor some people internationally. I had actually not even thought about sponsoring people locally. And so thank you for helping broaden my eyes in that. And I do think that where I see that in the United States is really directed around education. There, I had family members who helped pay for my college, and scholarships that I got at college that were, in a sense, other people sponsoring my education or sponsoring institutions because they believe those add value. So I see a huge amount of value in that as well. And I could see that also being equally as powerful, that as you, in aspiring to be a mentor, but then also aspiring to be a sponsor for the people and the programs that are really creating value.
Yeah, I think that's critical. So just, I guess one more question on my side is just any message that you have for the PocketSuite community? You're in this amazing kind of vibrant community that has a diverse group of entrepreneurs across industry, across, every category you can imagine. And we're all learning from each other. And so would love to just hear any guidance you have for your fellow entrepreneurs.
Sure. I don't know that I have hugely sagely wisdom or advice. I think I'll just take the opportunity to thank PocketSuite because you guys have provided me a really valuable service, and I ended up going out and finding some other services to see if they matched, and I came back because the value was here. And so thanks for responding to my questions well, and being timely in your responses, and when the text wasn't working, being willing to call me to figure out what was going on and help fix my issues. I think you guys really provide a good product.
Thanks so much.
I have two final thoughts and popped into my head because I've done quite a bit of traveling, so has Chinwe. The idea of family being more important in the culture in which we live. You see that externally a lot, but I feel on the road to success and wealth and accumulating, family seems to fall short. And I wonder if you focus on that in your practice, the importance of family.
Yeah, especially even more so than my practice, my personal life. That's a huge value for me, and I see that as being really important. In my practice, I think what I try to do is help people steer away from some of the things that look good, money, success, power, and because what I find is folks who are 60, 70-year-old coming into my office saying these things didn't pan out for me. And what I wish was I had stronger connection with my kids, my friends, my community.
Another idea I really like about faith is forgiveness, right? Like we get too intertwined with holding grievances, petty grievances, and conflict is too big a part of society. But that must be another thing that you have good insight onto, is the idea of forgiveness, because it's taught, right?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of misconception about what forgiveness is and how you give it. An important factor in forgiveness is that you really have to own and identify the hurt that was done to you before you can truly forgive. I think oftentimes our culture treats forgiveness as a sweeping under the rug and a moving on, rather than a true, I'm going to acknowledge the wrong that was done and then really put the payment of that on myself. I'm going to accept that and move forward. And then the other misconception is that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Reconciliation can only happen when the other person has become safe and trustworthy again. And so I work with that.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.